What's going on, guys? We are back with another Dirt Road Chronicles. I know it has been a long time since I've done one of these, but I've seen y'all in the comments saying to do more of these. So here we are, and I've got both of the dogs with me. Both of the dogs. You'll probably hear Huey whimpering and her probably breathing heavy because that's what she does best. But yeah, if you're new, Dirt Road Chronicles is a series that I do where I basically just hit a dirt road and then tell y'all a story from my past. So today's story I think is pretty funny. It was embarrassing for me at the time, but looking back on it, it's pretty hilarious. So going back to high school, I had my first truck, which was a 2006 Ford F-150 XLT four-wheel drive 5.4, right? I loved the truck. It was great. First truck, amazing. Was blessed with it. Now, at the time, I was talking to a girl, and you know, after school, what do? You want to hang out. So, not having hardly any money at the time, I was like, you know what? Let's go get some food. We're gonna go down to Jack's, right? It's me, this girl I was talking to, and then one of my buddies. We went down to Jack's. You know, of course, everybody's been in school together. Then you want to go hang out after school together, right? So we're gonna get everybody together, go eat, and then usually we'd go find a mud, like this mud hole right here on the side of the road. If I was in high school, we'd be in that mud hole right now, just off the ditch, off the road into the ditch, tear it up, get out of here. That was like just the pinnacle of a good day. So anyways, we're at the restaurant, right? We're yakking it up, whatever, having a good time. Maybe an hour goes by or whatever, and it was a nice cold winter day, right? So we got into the parking lot, we talked for, you know, a little while more. Anyways, so I was gonna take her home, so we hop in my truck. Well, I stick my key in the ignition and I try to turn it and it will not budge. Totally locked up, right? But when we got there, I pulled one tire up on the curb. That's like what we used to do, one tire or both front. I don't know, we thought it looked cool, right? Maybe y'all do that, I don't know. But I'd pulled one tire. The parking spots were kind of sideways, so I'd pulled one tire up on the curb. And so we got to thinking, we're like, well, maybe it's kind of in a bind, because you know when you turn if you turn your steering wheel all the way to one side, then turn your truck off, it'll be like your steering wheel will be locked. So we were thinking it was that, and it wouldn't come out of that unbindment until we moved the truck somehow, right? So immediately, boom, let's drag my truck off the curb, right? So my buddy was in his 05 Tacoma, which I ended up buying. Y'all maybe have seen it on the channel. My old Tacoma, he was parked next to me. He was the guy that was with me. So we end up getting a chain, hooking his truck up to mine. He throws it in four-wheel drive, which I was really impressed. That little Tacoma, dude, I say little. It was a second-gen Tacoma. Is that right? It was a 2005. It's when they got big, right? Those things are amazing. I will always love those trucks. That thing got put through Hades, and it just survived. But we hooked it up, he threw her in 4-low, and it drug my half-ton straight off that curb, no problem whatsoever. I wish I'd have filmed stuff back then. It would have been awesome. So he pulls me about, you know, a foot or two off the curb. You know, everything's fine, right? Everyone in the entire town is staring at us at this point. But I hop in it, and I'm like, dude, there's a dead carcass. It still won't turn. So at this point, my truck won't crank. It's cold. This girl that I'm talking to is obviously not having a great time because she's in the truck cold. So she actually goes inside and she's sitting in Jack's. So at that point, we're frustrated, we're mad, we don't understand what's going on. I'm ready to just snap my key off and be done with it. You know, I'm sure any of y'all that work on vehicles, if you're getting snagged up on something, like there comes a point when you would rather whatever the part is break than you fight with it anymore. Like, oh, I got this bolt that won't come undone. I would rather it shear off and me have to stop working on it than it not do that and me continue to have to fight with it. I was about at that point. So of course, typical, I call my dad, and he's like, well, I don't, you know, he didn't really have a clue. So we ended up calling around to some places, and they recommended this graphite. So apparently your key ignition, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it worked. So apparently your ignition has this graphite stuff in it, or you can put this in it and solve the issue. It gets locked up for some reason, whether it's dried out or I don't know what. The tumblers for some reason in the key lock get stuck, and it would not allow the key to turn. But then after using that graphite stuff, which I don't even remember exactly what it was, but I remember it was something to do with graphite paste or something like that. put that in there, put the key back in there, and either by miracle or by that fixing it, the key immediately turned. So then I'm stoked, right? My truck's working, great. But at the same time, I'm so embarrassed because at this point it has been like over an hour that we've been sitting there. Obviously, me and my buddy been outside working on our truck. She's inside. And at that time, I was like, man, I was just in my head, of course, overthinking it being so much bigger ordeal than it was. But looking back, it's actually hilarious that I was really embarrassed that day because I had a mechanical issue with my truck that I completely had no way of preventing or helping. It was just, you know, it's one of those things that happens. But looking back, absolutely hilarious. I can still, in my mind, picture it perfectly. We hooked the chains up and it drove like, it was so sick. Both of our trucks had mud graps on it, and like, if you can just picture it. My truck here on the curb, his truck here, a chain, and we're all thinking, there's no way this Tacoma is gonna pull my heavy F-150 off this curb. And it just drug her straight off. So yes, I ended up owning that truck. I always dreamed of that truck. I loved it. I lived most of my high school in that truck with him. We were best friends, and I always loved it. And I always was with him, telling him, oh yeah, you can go through that hole. So I saw all the abuse that truck went through, and then still ended up buying it and absolutely loving the crap out of it. And then I eventually did sell it, which I regret completely. I wish I'd never gotten rid of it. I just kept it. But yeah, it was cool seeing him drag my truck off of there. So hopefully that story was somewhat entertaining. I hadn't really thought about any other good stories. I just read the recent comment where someone was saying Dirt Road Chronicles and it had a bunch of likes on it. So I was like, you know what? I've thought about this story the other day, so let's just talk about it. But the question of this video is, have you ever grown up or been around one of your buddies that had a truck that you always dreamed of having and eventually bought it from him? Because I know from personal experience, it was amazing to finally own that truck, and it really lived up to everything that I always thought it was going to be, because I loved it secondhand experiencing it with him, which I drove it a ton when he owned it, and then owning it myself and putting my own touch on it, which I think it looked a whole lot better when I got it. Let me know if you ever bought a truck off of your buddy and what the experience was like, because it can go one of two ways. You buy it, it blows up, you ain't friends anymore, or maybe you worked through that, you were that good of friends. Or two, like my case, you buy it from them, it's an absolutely amazing truck, even though it got the tar beat out of it its entire life. It just decided it was never gonna die and was a great truck to you. That's how it was for me. So yeah, let me know. And if you want to see more, comment more Dirt Road Chronicles. I'll think back in the past of my high school craziness and come up with stuff. Dude, somebody did a burnout clean off the road, back on the road, and kept going. Respect.